And now, in studio, bringing his Midwest values from the Show Me State to the land of San Diego. He's a triple threat, licensed as an attorney, mortgage broker, and a top producing realtor who's crushing the competition. Here to deliver you what's happening in the trenches of the market. Your host, Michael Gaddis.
Welcome back to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis of michaelgaddis.com and frontierloangroup.com. We are here after my fiery first segment to talk to a certified financial planner. And I think you're going to find what he has to say extremely interesting. So his name is Greg Himfar. Is that correct, Greg?
Himfar.
Himfar. And so let me tell you a little bit about Greg, and then we'll start talking to him. Greg grew up in Rancho Santa Fe, California, and attended Torrey Pines High School. He attended college in Boston and graduated from San Diego State University with a Bachelor of Science in Finance. Greg Himfar is a certified financial planner in San Diego with offices in Carlsbad. He works with both individual investors preparing for and during retirement. In addition, Greg provides both small and large companies with employer-sponsored insurance and employer-sponsored retirement plans. Greg is both securities and insurance licensed in numerous states. Having worked as an independent financial planner for 17 years, he enjoys working with people of all ages and covers topics from college savings to Medicare. Prior to becoming a financial planner, Greg's education and prior work experience combined to provide a unique perspective, having worked on Wall Street for years within departments ranging from investment research to product development. So, Greg, you have quite a little bio there.
It's good to be here, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking over here and I'm looking at it, and you worked in Boston. I mean, you went to school in Boston. You worked on Wall Street. You know, you help both individuals and companies. So, tell me a little bit. Let's just talk about to my listeners right now. Tell them what it takes to be a certified financial planner.
To be a certified financial planner requires some due diligence, especially for me with a family, 2 kids. To dedicate that amount of time to achieve the CFP, Certified Financial Planner, is really a difficult task. First of all, in order to sit for the exam, you have to have a bachelor's degree or higher in any discipline from a regionally accredited college or university. Second is the coursework. There's about 8 modules, 7 or 8 these days, that you need to study for and pass a test on each module. Those modules range from general principles of financial planning, insurance, investment planning, estate planning, retirement planning. There's a financial plan development course from Capstone. Thirdly, you have to have the equivalent of 3 years full-time professional experience, the equivalent of 6,000 hours related to the financial planning process, or a 2-year apprenticeship experience that meets additional requirements, those being working under the direct supervision of a CFP. And finally, you have to pass a comprehensive final exam. For me, that was a 10-hour exam over 2 days, and I believe that they've recently changed the requirements so that it's now a 1-day exam, slightly fewer hours. You also have to have a clean record. You can't have bankruptcies or felonies or any type of
Which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the CFP also monitors that. And you can look up on the CFP website, I believe it's letsplan.org. If a CFP were to get a bankruptcy, it gets stated up on the site, 2 bankruptcies, they'd be expelled.
Wow. So basically what you're telling me is that in order to be a CFP, it's an exhaustive procedure that you have to go through, complete with passing certain level exams, and you also have to have thorough background checks in order to become a CFP.
I would say it takes, roughly between 2 and 3 years for somebody who's actively working, has a family, similar to the bar exam for law.
Right.
It is a tough exam, I will say that.
Well, what is the difference then between a financial planner and a CFP, a certified financial planner? I mean, I'm sorry, a financial advisor and a certified financial planner. What is the difference between that?
There's really so many titles. Somebody who manages money can call themselves, and there's so many different designations out there that it gets very, very confusing. I would say the CFP is at the top of the list for qualification. That's the number one thing that someone ought to look for. The difference being, for me, there's a lot of ways somebody can look at a CFP or a financial advisor or financial planner or an RIA, registered investment advisor. But I would say, to me, and I've given this a lot of thought, it boils down to two variables for me that distinguish a CFP from others. The first is ethics. The whole course is, a big chunk of the course, and one of those educational modules I mentioned before deals directly with ethics. Ethics is there with anybody who manages money. The second variable being the CFP, because of the breadth of information, is able to look at the big picture. So I could say, I'm a stockbroker, and I concentrate solely on buying and selling stocks. I become an expert in buying and selling stocks. But should I be buying bonds? Should I be buying mutual funds or exchange traded funds, life insurance, dealing with topics such as Medicare or college education planning? The big picture kind of puts things in perspective with regard to a lot of different variables. So I would say those two things really separate a CFP from just a regular financial planner, advisor, registered investment advisor.
So right, so it's similar to an attorney in a lot of respects, because we have ethical considerations that we have to do. We have to put our client's best interests ahead of ours. We can't put our financial best interests ahead of our clients. We always have to be thinking for our clients. And it sounds like as a CFP, you're held to a very similar standard.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's, if I recall from years ago, that's one of the questions asked on a test. Putting your interests ahead of others is the most important aspect.
And the other thing you mentioned during that when you were describing it, just kind of stuck out in my head, was the fact that that you look at things more broadly, that you don't look at things through kind of horse blinders, so to speak. Whereas somebody who's a stockbroker, strictly a stockbroker, is going to only look at things from a stock perspective. You have the ability to look at things from a wider spectrum than, say, a stockbroker, right?
I can give you an example.
Yeah.
Just recently, I bought a new car, and I was debating between two different models. The models both had the same structure, same appearance, same color. Interiors and several of the benefits were similar, and I really couldn't distinguish between paying more for one model versus the other. But when the manager of the dealership came out and spent a little time with me, he was able to point out these little things that I couldn't see. I couldn't see the rims were different. I couldn't see that the tires were different. I didn't see certain painting decals. And when you added all those little things together, there were probably 20 to 25 of them, I was able to come to a more informed decision.
Right.
I was able to see what he saw as an expert in the automobile industry selling cars.
No, I love that analogy, because as everyone who listens to my show knows, I am a big believer in experts. I believe in going to the creme de la creme of what you're looking for. So if you're looking for example, an estate planning attorney, or an elder law attorney, I will go to somebody who is a certified elder law attorney, somebody who has, taking extra exams, who's done what they need to do, because it's kind of like what you said with that car. You guys are both looking at the same car. You can't at first understand what the price difference is. Why are they charging me more money for this car than that car when they look the same? And it took somebody who really understands the ins and outs of that particular car to basically make you appreciate why that price is higher.
Exactly. I also have an example with regard to ethics.
Okay.
Because ethics is most often misunderstood. And I would say to the listeners out there, when you're trying to choose a financial planner, advisor, you really are forced to go with your gut instinct, because you don't have the specific knowledge that that other person does. And I have an example that I wanted to share today. In my prior work history, I worked at a major bank, one that you probably all have heard of. And if you were a client of that bank, you would walk into the branch, and if you wanted to invest, in something other than CDs, you would be directed either to a bank broker in one corner of the branch, or an insurance agent broker in the other corner of the branch. And depending on who was there or how that teller felt that one day, they either pointed left or right. If you ended up with the insurance agent, you ended up with a product an insurance agent could sell. For example, a variable universal life policy, an indexed equity life product. If you ended up with the securities broker, you ended up with, for example, a variable annuity or a mutual fund or a managed account. Well, each of those professionals was an expert in the products that they sold. Yet ethically, if you were to want to save for retirement and use those assets during retirement, you should go with, for example, in this situation or in this example, a variable annuity over an insurance product. If you ended up with the desire to save money and accumulate assets to pass on later in life after you've passed, then an insurance product would probably be more appropriate. And there are examples where in both of those examples where you can go either way, but that's a very important ethical decision. Does the insurance agent refer that client to the investment broker and forego a commission?
Right.
And vice versa.
And that's where things get tricky. I mean, it really is. And the same ethical constraints come in, whether it be the law or real estate. You can get in those same ethical conundrums. Now, you're always supposed to basically defer to the client, but people are human, and it's very difficult in that instance to do it. But I think that ethics, having somebody with ethics, is really important, and no matter what you're doing. I mean, and it's I guess people are people, and you're like, well, how do I know even when somebody who supposedly has an ethical constraints is going to be is going to be ethical with me. Well, you know what? If you go to a CFP, they're held to higher standards. There is a certain methodology that you could do. If somebody who is a financial planner, I'm assuming, has an issue with you, I'm assuming there's a protocol they could go through to file a complaint or do what they need to do.
Absolutely. It's in my best interest to maintain a clean record, not be upfront about fees or commissions, and that's something that not everybody holds in high regard.
No, and I think that is a tremendous aspect of being a certified financial planner versus somebody who doesn't have those same restrictions. Well, after the break, we're going to continue our conversation with Greg Himfar about financial planning. You're listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer.